Good morning, class 9 students. I welcome you all on this digital learning platform provided by Jagriti Classes. We were doing chapter 4 of class 9th. Okay, so we'll start today's class with some topics, that is some of the most important and confusing terms, which are valence electron, then you have your valence shell, and then you have a topic called valency. So these are the interlinked or interrelated topics which we are going to study. So the first term is valence electrons. What do you mean by valence electrons? This all I have also discussed in your previous classes. So valence electrons are the electrons which are present in the outermost shell, in outermost orbit you can say. Electrons present in your outermost shell are called valence electrons, and valence shell means obviously the outermost shell. Valency we will discuss later. First you see what do you mean by valence electron and valence shell. For example, you have an atom. This is the nucleus of that particular atom. Then you have different shells around your nucleus. Let's suppose I have to arrange a total of 7 electrons in these shells. So how these 7 electrons will be arranged? The first 2 electrons will occupy your first shell, that is K shell. Now when 2 electrons have already occupied the K shell, then what are the remaining electrons? You have 5 electrons left. So these 5 electrons will be present or will be occupied in the next shell. This shell is called K shell, and this outermost is your L shell. So now these 7 electrons, so for this atom, let's suppose the atom having 7 electrons is called nitrogen, because the atomic number of nitrogen is 7. So if we try to draw the electronic diagram of nitrogen, you will get 2 electrons in your K shell and remaining 5 electrons in L shell. So now you can see that what is the valence shell of nitrogen? Valence shell means the outermost shell. So for nitrogen, the valence shell is your L shell. So we can write that for nitrogen, the valence shell is your L shell. Okay, but while talking about any other atom, let's suppose if I talk about hydrogen. Atomic number of hydrogen is 1. Yes. So if I try to arrange this 1 electron, what I'll make is, I'll make the nucleus first, then I'll draw the K shell, and in the K shell this 1 electron would be present. So if you are asked a question, what is the valence shell of hydrogen? So because you know that hydrogen has only single outermost shell, that is the K shell. So this K shell behaves as a valence shell for hydrogen. Now if you talk about, let's say any other example, let's suppose we are talking about sodium. The atomic number of sodium is 11. The atomic number for sodium we have 11. So now 11 signifies, we know atomic number means number of protons, and number of protons is therefore equal to number of electrons. So if I arrange these 11 electrons, how would I do so? First 2 electrons will go in your K shell. Now in your next shell, maximum number of electrons which can be occupied are a total of 8 electrons. So 2 plus 8 gives you a total of 10 electrons. Now यहाँ पर we have 11. So 10 I have already arranged. Now the next 11th electron can't go in this L shell. Okay, if you have this confusion that why ma'am it doesn't go in your L shell, then you may refer to your previous video where I taught you the different electron distribution according to Bohrs-Bury scheme. So now the next electron will go in your M shell, and this M shell you have, and in this M shell you have 1 electron. So what do you get? That the electronic configuration of sodium is 2, 8 and 1. Now this 1 electron, because this is present in M shell, so for sodium what would be the valence shell? If you are asked what is the valence shell for sodium, what you will say? Either it is K or is it L or M? Correct, it would be the M shell, because you know valence shell means the outermost shell. Okay, so here the outermost shell is M. So the valence shell for sodium would be M shell. Likewise, the valence shell for hydrogen would be your K shell, because electron is present in the K shell. And valence electron, if I tell you what are valence electron in hydrogen. So for hydrogen, how many electrons are present in your valence shell? A single. So you will say one valence electron is present in hydrogen. Now can you answer me how many valence electron are present in nitrogen? Correct, because valence electron means electrons which are present in valence shell itself. So for nitrogen you have valence shell to be the L shell, and electrons present in L shell, 5 electrons are present. So you will say that for nitrogen valence shell is your L shell, and valence electrons, how many valence electron do you have in your valence shell? You have 5 electrons. So the number of valence electron for nitrogen would be 5. Talking about sodium, can you all find the valence electron in sodium? It is very easy. Electrons, valence electron means the electrons present in your valence shell. As I already told you, valence shell for sodium is M shell. So this M shell is your valence shell. And electrons, how many electrons are present? A single, 1 electron. So 1 electron is your valence electron. So this is the whole concept about valence electrons and valence shell. Now further we will discuss what do you mean by valency. Valency is a very important topic, and it is also mentioned as a topic in your NCERT. So now let's talk about valency. What do you mean by the term valency? So first I'll write out the definition for you. Valency is the combining capacity of an atom. You can also write this much definition, that the combining capacity of atom is called valency. Or we can elaborate it more, the combining capacity of atom to get bonded with other atoms, in order to achieve noble gas configuration. This word is very important, noble gas configuration. Noble gas configuration actually means stability. Okay? For the term stability, we use the word noble gas configuration. So this is what you mean by valency. Valency is the combining capacity of an atom to get bonded with any other atom, in order to achieve what is our main aim. We want to achieve a noble gas configuration for that atom. Now explaining it to you, in the extreme right of the periodic table, what you have certain gases. Okay? Like if you have ever seen a periodic table, the periodic table is somewhat like this. You have your S block, then you have P block, then you have your D block, and here it is F block. So this sort of periodic table have you seen in chemistry? I hope you have seen it. So what do we have now is, in this periodic table, at the extreme right hand side, you have certain gases, which is helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon and radon. So these are the different gases which are present in extreme right of the periodic table. Okay? This is the symbol for helium, then you have neon, then you have the other gas which is called argon, then comes krypton, and at the last position you have radon, and this is obviously xenon. So these are the different gases which are present in the extreme right of periodic table, and these gases are called your noble gases. So the question arises, why they are called noble gases? How can you judge a gas that is it noble or not? We have these noble gases only, no need of confusion. Why these are called noble gases, we'll see. if you try to see their electronic configuration means arrangement of electrons. Then for helium, we'll see their atomic number. Then at the next, we can see the electronic configuration or arrangement of electrons in different shells. Electronic configuration is the arrangement of electrons in different shells. So for helium, the atomic number of helium is 2, then you have 10, then you have 18 and so on, okay? Then comes 36, then it is 54, then you have the atomic number 86. So these are the atomic number of these gases. Now you can try to arrange the electrons, or you can try to write the electronic configuration of various shells, that is K, L, M and N shells. So for these two electrons, both of the electrons will go into the K shell or will be accommodated in the K shell. So we can write the electronic configuration is just 2. Moving on to neon, how can you arrange these 10 electrons in these different shells? So out of 10 electrons, the first 2 electrons go in your K shell, that is the first shell. The remaining 8, because 10 minus 2 gives you 8 electrons. So the remaining 8 electrons will go in your L shell. Now if you try to arrange these also for 18, what you'll have is you have 2, 8 and 8. And arranging these, all the extra electrons will move to the next shell, and similarly you will get all the configuration. So now what pattern can you observe from these electronic configuration? Do you find any similarity? Yes, the similarity between all the configuration is that in the outermost shell or the valence shell of these gases are completely filled. That is, they are already present in a stable configuration. They do not need to lose or gain electron, or they do not need to share electrons, okay? They are already complete. You know that because valence shell of all the gases, valence shell of all these gases are completely filled, then these gases are stable enough because the valence shell is filled and they do not require any other gas, okay, to form a bond. They are alone, they are happy alone. So they do not require any other atom or any other thing to get bonded and become stable, because I have already discussed, and you also know that for stability the octet rule is followed. Or we can write for K shell, a doublet rule is followed, and for the remaining shell, that is L, M and N shell, you have octet rule. What does these rules signify? The doublet rule says you that it is only for K shell, okay? Remember this. The doublet rule says you that if you have 2 electrons in your K shell, that is K shell can maximally hold 2 electrons, and these 2 electrons are already present. So the electronic configuration when K shell is the outermost shell and you have a doublet of electrons, that is 2 electrons, then this would be stable. Similarly, talking about this octet rule says that in the valence shell, you should have a total of 8 electrons. Remember, this is for the remaining shells, and for K shell you only have a doublet of electrons. So octet rule says that in your valence shell, the number of electrons which should be present should be equal to a total of 8 electrons. And if you have 8 electrons in valence shell, then the compound will be stable. So let's see, valence means outermost shell. In this is your K shell, this is your L shell. Outermost shell is 8. So 8 is your valence shell, and you have how many electrons? 8 electrons. So according to octet rule, this would be stable. Moving on to the next, the outermost shell is K, L and M. M is the outermost shell, and the outermost shell is called valence shell. Now how many electrons you have here? You have a total of 8 electrons, which gives stability according to octet rule. So this would also be stable. And if you write the electronic configuration of these remaining gases, you will see that a total of 8 electrons are present in your outermost or valence shell. So these all are stable. So this is why we call these gases as noble gases. And these are also called inert gases. Inert means stable. Stable is also called inert. So because these gases have completely filled outermost shell, or you can say because these gases have a complete octet in their outermost or valence shell, so these are stable or these are inert, and therefore they are called noble gases. Okay? Because you know the thing which is stable, if these are stable, then they will be very less reactive. Remember this concept always in chemistry. Stability, if you say something is stable, we can write a generalized rule that is stability is inversely proportional to reactivity. Inversely proportional means if stability will increase, reactivity would decrease. Okay? The vice versa relation between stability and reactivity is found. That is, if certain atom is highly stable, if its stability is more, then its reactivity would be very less. And if I say I give you something which is highly reactive, if reactivity is more, then stability would be low. So this is what we call an inverse relation, and stability and reactivity are related inversely to each other. So this is what is the reason why these gases are called noble gases, because they are inert. Inert means they are stable. And why they are stable, I have already explained you on the basis of two rules, that is your doublet rule, which is valid only for the K shell, and then comes the octet rule. Now we'll see how do you calculate the valency. The next topic would be calculation of valency. How to know that which compound carries how much, or the value of valency for different compounds is what. You can easily see from the, I think, first 20 elements. Yes, the first 20 elements are already mentioned in a tabular form in your books. Okay, the CBSE NCERT books. So there you have one more column in which the valencies of all that elements are written. But I'll give you an idea that how you calculate the valency. Now, remember the fact that every compound or every element, I may say, every element has the tendency that it should achieve the nearest noble gas configuration. What I'm saying is, any element wants to achieve the nearest noble gas configuration. To explain this, let's take an example of helium. Okay, helium is the noble gas. So I'm taking the example of hydrogen. Atomic number of hydrogen is 1. That is, it has 1 proton and it has 1 electron. So the configuration of hydrogen would be this 1 electron in K shell. And you know, for K shell, what is the rule? Doublet rule. That is, if you have 2 electrons in the K shell, then your hydrogen gas would be stable. Now the nearest noble gas to hydrogen is your helium, which has a stable configuration, that is, it has 2 electrons in the outermost shell. So this is stable. How can you make this hydrogen also wants to achieve the noble gas configuration, because the nearest noble gas is helium, because it has 2 electrons. So to achieve 1 electron, this hydrogen forms a H2 molecule, that is a diatomic molecule. They form a covalent bond instead. Now taking other example, let's suppose you know that a noble gas which you have is neon. Neon is denoted by the symbol Ne, small e and capital N, and atomic number of neon is 10. That is, neon has 10 protons and 10 electrons. Okay? Now this is your noble gas, neon. The other 2 neighboring elements of neon would be, here comes your fluorine, which is denoted by the symbol F, and the atomic number of fluorine is 9. 9 means it has 9 protons and it has 9 electrons. And the next further neighbor of neon is what? Sodium. The atomic number of the symbol is Na, atomic number is 11. 11 signifies the same thing, that it contains 11 protons and 11 electrons. Now you know, if I try to write their electronic configuration, these 10 electrons are arranged, we have discussed previously. Their electronic configuration would be 2 electrons in your K shell and the remaining 8 electrons in your L shell. Now you have that outermost shell contains 8 electrons, so this neon is stable according to inert rule, and because it is stable, it is kept in the column of inert gases or the noble gases. But writing the electronic configuration of fluorine, what I get is I have only 9 electrons. In this 9 electrons, 2 electrons will come in the K shell, and then the remaining 7 electrons, because 7 plus 2 gives you 9. So the electronic configuration of fluorine would be 2, 7. And similar will be the case of sodium. Can you write these 11 electrons in the different shells? That is its electronic configuration. Electronic configuration of sodium would be 2, 8 and 1. Because in these 11 electrons, first 2 electrons will come in K shell, then next 8 electrons will come in L shell. 8 and 2 gives you 10. The 11th electron will come in your next shell, that is your M shell. So this would be the electronic configuration of sodium. Now you can see that according to octet rule, both the configuration, that is fluorine and sodium, is not stable. Because what octet rule says, in the outermost shell, number of electrons should be 8. But here in the outermost shell, how many electrons you have? 1 electron. And here how much you have? 7. So to gain stability, what they can do? There are 2 possibilities. So first, let's discuss the possibility of fluorine. We are discussing the possibility what fluorine can do to become stable. Fluorine has 2 possibilities. That is, the electronic configuration is 2 and 7. It has 2 possibilities. To get outermost electrons 8, that is to follow octet rule or doublet rule. If it wants to follow octet rule means it wants 8 electrons in the outermost shell. Then to follow octet rule, it can take or gain 1 electron. If fluorine gains 1 electron, then 1 electron would be added in the outermost shell, and the configuration which you will get would be 2, 8. This would be the configuration which you will get for fluorine if it tries to follow octet rule and if it gains 1 electron. Now the next condition is this: if it tries to follow doublet rule of stability. So what it can do, if it removes these 7 electrons, if fluorine remove all the 7 electrons outside, then it would be left with 2, and 2 electrons present in the K shell is quite stable. So if it follows doublet rule, it would have to lose 7 electrons. And if this fluorine will lose 7 electrons, then it will now be left with only 2 electrons, and 2 electrons in the K shell is stable according to your doublet rule. So these are both the possibilities which fluorine can easily do. But what actually fluorine does? We know that this following of octet rule is more favorable or more preferable in case of fluorine. Can anyone of you explain why? Okay, I'll do so. Because to lose 7 electrons, a high amount of energy is required to remove these 7 electrons from fluorine. So this task is not favorable because because of high energy requirement, fluorine can't remove 7 electrons from itself to attain stability. So what will fluorine do? Obviously, fluorine will follow this octet rule and it will simply gain 1 electron. And because fluorine gains 1 electron, you know electron is negatively charged subatomic particle. So when this fluorine will gain 1 electron, it is taking negative charge on itself. It is taking the electron which is negative. So when this fluorine takes electron, this would get a negative charge on itself, on its head. And how many electrons it is taking? A single electron. So the charge would be -1, or you can simply write F minus. No need to write 1 because minus sign signifies that a single electron is being taken. And the species containing a charge on it is called ion. And the negatively charged, this compound is called anion. So a negatively charged ion is called the fluoride anion. So this is a fluoride anion what you will have. So F always exists in the form of F minus in nature, okay, because it attains one electron from the neighboring species and it gains stability. So this is the case of fluorine. I hope you have understood this case. Now we'll talk, so if fluorine gains one electron and becomes F minus, then the configuration would become 2,8. And 2,8 is the configuration of what? 2,8 is the configuration of this neon gas. So fluorine, to attain stability, tries to occupy the nearest noble gas configuration. You know the nearest noble gas because this is on number 9 and this is on number 10. So the nearest gas is obviously neon. For sodium also, neon is the nearest gas. Why? Because after neon, what do we have? We have argon, and the atomic number of argon is 18. So sodium is standing on 11th position. Okay? Now, which one is more nearer? The 10th position neighbor or the 18th position? Yes, obviously the 10th position neighbor is quite nearer to sodium. So this sodium also tries to behave like this neon gas. That is, this sodium wants to eliminate, this has 11 electrons, so it wants to lose its 1 electron. And when sodium will lose its electron, we have sodium here, okay, atomic number of sodium is 11. Sodium tries to achieve the nearest noble gas configuration, that is nearest configuration which is of neon. So sodium tries to achieve the configuration of neon. For doing this, what sodium does is, 11 electrons have an arrangement 2, 8 and 1. Now sodium wants to lose 1 electron, because we can say similar to fluorine, it has two possibilities. If it wants to follow octet rule, then it can lose 1 electron. If it loses 1 electron, the configuration would become 2 and 8, because this outermost electron would be lost, okay. Configuration would be 2 and 8, and this according to octet rule would be stable. Next also, it can't follow doublet rule, it will only follow octet rule. But for completing its octet, what sodium can do? It can take 7 more electrons. It can gain 7 electrons. Once this sodium gains 7 electrons, then the configuration would be 2, 8 and plus 7 electrons more. Then you will get 7 plus 1 will give you 8. So if it gains 7 electron, the configuration would be 2, 8 and 8. Remember, I am making all the changes in this valence shell and no inner shell is being included. So what do we say if I make the changes in valence shell and these changes are according to their valency or combining capacity? Therefore, the term is called valency, because to find valency you only focus on your valence shell, and valence shell is the outermost shell. So what sodium will do? Obviously it is, well, we can say here that 1 electron, losing 1 electron is preferably more favorable or more easier than gaining 7 electrons. Because if sodium will gain 7 electrons, then it would be difficult for the nucleus to hold on these 7 electrons, okay. So what does sodium prefer? Sodium prefers to lose 1 electron. And because sodium loses 1 electron, it gets a configuration of 2, 8. And this configuration is equivalent to the configuration of your neon gas. So every atom wants to achieve the nearest noble gas configuration. And in turn, if it achieves the nearest noble gas configuration, the element becomes stable. And once the element becomes stable, it becomes less reactive. So this is what do you mean by valency. Now we can also make a generalized rule for valency. Generalized rule for valency states that first point in this rule is, if number of valence electrons are 1, 2, 3 and 4, then such elements will lose these electrons, to gain stability. So this is what the rule states. And the second part of the rule states that if number of valence electrons, now I hope you do not have any confusion in this term. We started our class with the same term, valence electrons. Electrons present in outermost shell are called valence electrons. So if number of valence electrons are 5, 6 or 7, then these elements will gain electrons and attain stability. Because we have just now seen that the valence electrons present in sodium were 1, a single electron, and it is easy to lose 1 electron and it is very difficult to gain 7 electrons. So I have made a generalization. If number of valence electrons are 1, 2, 3, 4, then they will lose these because they are easy to lose. But if number of electrons are 5, 6 or 7, like in the case of nitrogen, the atomic number is 7, electrons, the arrangement of electrons is 2 and 5. You have 5 electrons in the outermost shell. For gaining stability, what can nitrogen do? Either it can lose 5 electrons. Once it will lose 5 electrons, it will gain a 2 plus 2 configuration in the K shell, which is stable. Or it can gain 3 electrons, because if it takes 3 electrons, then 5 plus 3 will give 7. 5 plus 3 will give 8. So the configuration would be 2, 8 and this would be stable. What is easier? So you can say according to this rule, because number of valence electrons are 5 in nitrogen, so it will do what? It will gain electron. How many electrons it will gain? If you are having 5 electrons, to make it 8, it will gain how many? 3 electrons would be added. If you have 6 electrons in any case, you have to make it 8, because octet rule says 8 is stable. So to make 6, 8, you will add 2 electrons. And to make this 7 equal to 8, you will add a single electron. So this is what you mean by valency. Okay, valency means how many electrons are required to attain a noble gas configuration. This is what valency means, and according to the definition, valency is the combining capacity of elements of atoms to combine with other atoms in order to attain stability. Our main aim that every atom should attain a stability, a stable configuration. Now I can also write, what do you now mean by valency? As I have discussed this rule, this generalized rule, so you can say that valency is equal to the number of electrons lost by element, or you can say valency is equal to number of electrons gained by the element. Why this element is losing and gaining electrons? To achieve noble gas configuration. And what does noble gas configuration means? To achieve stability. So this is what the term valency means. Valency is the number of electrons which are lost by any element, or you can say valency is the number of electrons which are gained by any element. Now you know when the element or the atom will lose or gain electrons. If the number of valence electrons is 1 to 4, then it would prefer to lose them. If the number of valence electrons are 5, 6 and 7, then it will prefer to gain the electrons, because gaining of electrons is more favorable energetically, or it is more easier task. So now what we have is, can you say what will be the valency of sodium? We have already discussed that sodium is 2, 8 and 1. Now sodium loses 1 electron. It loses 1 electron to become 2 and 8. And because it has lost an electron and electron is negatively charged, it has removed some negative charge from itself. Then a plus sign will come on sodium. And the number of electrons removed would be denoted by the same number, that is plus 1 means, plus means you have lost electron, and 1 means how many electrons have you lost? A single electron. So this would be 2, 8, which is Na plus. So if I am asked, what is the valency of sodium? So valency is the number of electrons lost. So valency of sodium is 1. But if you are given what is the valency of fluorine, we have discussed fluorine has atomic number 9. 9 means the electrons are 2 and 7. Okay. What did fluorine do? It gains an electron. So fluorine gains 1 electron and it becomes 2, 8. And because it is taking electron, it becomes F minus 1. Now what would be the valency? So here we are saying कि जितने electrons element loses becomes its valency. But in the case of gaining, it is not so. Okay? यहाँ पे we can directly see the valency, that is number of electrons lost. But here number of electrons gained do not provide us the valency. For this I have written number of electrons gained by the element. So how many electrons did it? Okay, so number of electrons gained is 1. So the valency of fluorine would be 1. Don't compare the valency to be 7 because 7 electrons are already present in fluorine and the number of electrons gained by fluorine is 1. So the valency of fluorine would also be 1. In valency we never write the signs, that is, this is not plus or minus 1. It generally signifies the combining capacity. So never include a plus or a minus sign in writing valency. So this was all the topic of valency. Now what we have next is a small topic which we will be discussing. The topic is atomic number. Atomic number topic is very simple. Atomic number is denoted by the symbol capital Z, and atomic number means the total number of protons which are present in any element. So atomic number is the number of protons present. To give you a small example, what is the atomic number of, let's say, lithium? We say because lithium has 3 protons. So the atomic number of lithium, which is denoted by Z, Z would be 3. The atomic number of nitrogen is what? Because we know nitrogen contains 7 protons. So the atomic number would be 7. So this is what you mean by atomic number. And one general phenomena that atomic number tells you what? Number of protons. And usually these number of protons are equal to the number of electrons present in any element. That is, nitrogen has an atomic number 7 because it has 7 protons. So can you say how many electrons nitrogen has? Nitrogen has 7 electrons. Now discussing the last short topic, that is about mass number. Mass number is denoted by capital A, and mass number is it denotes the mass of any atom, mass of atom. Okay? So how can you calculate mass? It can be defined as sum of masses of protons and neutrons which are present in the atom, or you can say sum of number of protons and neutrons which are present in the atom. Protons and neutrons are combinedly named as nucleons, and protons and neutrons both are present inside the nucleus, and these are responsible for mass. So for example, if I say what is the mass of nitrogen? So the mass of nitrogen would be, nitrogen contains 7 protons and it has 7 neutrons. If I sum these number, 7 protons plus 7 neutrons give you 14. So the mass of nitrogen is 14 and the unit would be a small u. Talking about our last example, which is aluminium. What is the mass of aluminium? When you calculate the mass of aluminium, you get it to be 27 units. Why? Because in aluminium, you have 13 protons. The atomic number of aluminium is 13. That is, it has 13 electrons and 13 protons. But the neutrons in aluminium is 14. So on calculating a total of 13 protons with 14 neutrons, what you will get? You will get a mass of 27 units. So this is the mass of aluminium. One aluminium atom has a mass of 27 units because the sum of protons and neutrons is equal to 27. So now we are left with only a short topic, that is about isotopes and isobars, and then next class we'll discuss some of the questions or some basic concepts, or if any other topic we are left with. This is what you have, and this all is according to your revised syllabus. In this unit nothing is being omitted. Okay, we'll discuss revised syllabus also in your next classes. So thank you for joining the class today, and if you have any sort of doubt, you can contact me anytime. Thank you.